There's the lilyfish. Hello, this is Meredith Plummer.
And Doug Plummer.
We're here for This Place to discuss the accessibility of Newport Aquarium. And we're going to try to do this quickly, so we got a new format for you today. We're going to talk about each section. We're going to talk about its negatives, its positives, and then give you a score.
All right, so let's start with negatives on mobility. Number one is the parking situation. They don't have any handicap parking on the third level, and to make things worse, people on the first and second levels kept riding the elevator down, so it took us about 6 tries to actually get the elevator up. I ended up jumping on a full elevator that came down to get us, and then I just stopped everybody from getting on it and rode it back down to get my wife. So, yeah, so that was kind of annoying.
Once you got to the Newport Aquarium, though, it was overall pretty good, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But you should know that at the Newport Aquarium, there are no adult changing tables, and there are a couple of inaccessible experiences. For one, there's no push button to get in the building, so you're going to need someone to help you get in the building if you can't access a building without a push button. In the inaccessible experiences, there's a play structure that anyone who uses a wheelchair couldn't use. There are a couple of touch experiences where you have the opportunity to touch a sea creature, but if you can't stand, then you really can't reach the touch pool. There's a shark bridge where if you can't walk, you can't cross it. And there's a stingray tunnel where if you can't go up and down steps and crawl, then that's an experience you miss out on as well.
Yeah, the Stingray Tunnel is around a 3-foot height, so people can't walk in it anyway. You couldn't fit your chair if you could get it down there. I was able to get Lily down there by, just carrying her down the stairs, and then she crawled. So you still can do it if you don't mind crawling and you have someone to help you down the stairs. The other problem was that the main entrance, the doors, there was no push buttons to automatically open the doors for you.
I said that.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, well. Well, then. You heard it twice. Here.
So, really know that. But there were goods. There was handicap seating at the shark show that they have. Just make sure if you want to see that show that you show up early, because by the time we got there, all the companion seating had been taken by able-bodied people. So our 2 girls in chairs had to sit in the aisle instead of in the accessible seating area.
There's also handicap seating around the penguin exhibit, too. But you had problems with people parking their strollers there. So we just pushed the stroller out in the hallway and moved the wheelchair in place. Most of the exhibits are floor-to-ceiling glass for the most part, so you can see almost all the animals being in the chair, and all the hallways and everywhere. Plenty of room to roll around and get around objects.
So, on the whole, I would give the mobility accessibility of Newport Aquarium a 4.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like we talked a lot of negative, but it was a 4. The parking's not their fault. That's the Newport area.
So moving on to blind or visually impaired, the negatives are that it is mostly a sighted experience. So if you are completely blind, there's really not much for you to engage with there. And none of the exhibits have Braille.
And now on the good. The touch experiences, like we said before, it's really cool to be able to, go in there and touch the animals. Now, of course, you may need help with somebody to guide your hand to the animal, because you're kind of just like looking down and trying to find the fish. Also, really cool that they will let you, if you get a hold of them 2 weeks in advance, they can. Oh wait, I'm jumping ahead. That's for deaf. But you can get a free lighted magnifying glass if you let them know ahead of time, and they can put it off to the side for you.
And of course, there's that one presentation at the Shark Tank, so you can hear from people who actually work with the animals there at the Newport Aquarium.
Yeah.
So, blind or visually impaired, I was prepared to give it a 2 until I learned you can get a lighted magnifying glass for free. So maybe a 3.
Yeah. I was also in the same boat. So yeah, we're going to be 3s, I guess. We're just agreeing with each other today.
So then moving on to deaf or hard of hearing, the negatives is that there is no closed captioning on any of their videos. Know that.
Now, the good is that if you plan on going soon, on the 9th of March, they are having Deaf Day, and that looks like it's going to be an all-day event. Then you can also get a sign language interpreter, which I was trying to talk about earlier. And you just need to get a hold of them about 2 weeks before you go, and they can get that set up for you.
At no extra cost.
Yes, free. That is good.
Again, it is a mostly sighted experience, so if all you deal with is deafness or hard of hearing, then you should be fine. And you should know that while there is no closed captioning for videos, there are assistive listening devices for that Shark Tank presentation, which I mentioned earlier. So overall, deaf, hard of hearing, 4.
Yeah, it definitely is a good 4. I mean, if you enjoy animals, it's definitely something to go see.
So then moving to sensory, the negative is that just because of the way they have to set it up, the reverberations are really hard to deal with at times. So know that. Try to go on a day that perhaps will not be as crowded. We went on President's Day, so all the schools were out, so it was crowded. You should also know that the bathrooms have automatic flush, so if you are with someone where that's always an issue that you deal with, bring those sticky notes and put it on the sensor so that way it doesn't flush automatically. And you should know that at the Stingray exhibit, there are hand dryers, which are very, very loud.
And they're constantly going. Like, I don't know of one time where somebody wasn't over there blowing their hands on those hand dryers. So that area was, it's a large open area, so it just echoed everywhere. Now, on the good side is that they actually have an autism and special needs night, and that's going to be on 4/24 of this year. But that's going to be a late night thing after the normal hours. So it's a 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So they don't actually close down the whole aquarium. They just lower down all the noise and everything to make it a little bit easier for people. Speaking of, if the noise is a problem, you can rent noise-canceling headphones from the service desk.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool because I have never heard of any other place where you could rent noise-canceling headphones.
Yeah.
There's also, I mentioned that kids play area. If you have a sensory seeker, that might be a good place for them to kind of decompress. And at the Stingray exhibit, if those hand dryers are not going to be a problem for your child, there's a little section where your child can splash and play in the water. It's the only touch experience that has such a splash and play area, usually they would discourage that, but there's that little section there at the Stingray.
Yep. All right.
So overall sensory's
3. I don't know, just because of the noise, but I mean the headphones kind of help. And I think I'm gonna stick with the 3 only because there's no place to get away from everything.
I'm gonna give it a 4 because now that you mention that, it's true. There are no sensory rooms to go to, but there were quite a few breaks in the walk. I don't know, the tour.
Yeah. They had seating areas and
there are
stuff like
seating areas that were not as loud. So I'm going to give it a 4 because Sierra and I were able to decompress in those a few times.
Okay. All right, let's go with the medical. So allergies, don't eat the food. Basically, every type of allergy is prepared in that kitchen, and they say let them know ahead of time, and they might be able to prepare something, but I would just pack to be on the safe side. Also, there's no first aid stations. You have people that are trained in first aid, and so if you need anything, you let someone know, and there's first aid kits and stuff like that, but no actually first aid area. And, of course, like anything that we do, it seems like there's always a lot of walking, but there are seats.
Also, on the negative side, emotional support animals are not allowed. If you have a service animal, however, they are allowed. They just aren't allowed on the shark bridge or at the behind-the-scenes tours. No. However, on the good side, again, if it's a lot of walking and if walking is difficult for you, you can rent a wheelchair for free. They think they have between 10 and 20. The person we talked to couldn't give us a definite number, but
So if you plan on going for the whole day, get there early.
And then the last thing that's really cool is that personal care assistants are free. So contact them before you go, so that way you can get that free ticket for your personal care assistant.
Yep. So, yep. Looks good.
Overall score for medical?
I'll give it a 3. Only, I would like to see a place where they have a separate first aid kit, first aid area. Somewhere that if somebody's really having a bad day, they can lay down in quiet.
I'll give it a 4. No. Sorry, I changed that. I'm gonna go with a 3 just because of the allergies. I just can't believe that they can't accommodate any allergies.
It just says if you have any questions or concerns, call them. But it doesn't say. It just says that the food is prepared, contains milk, eggs, wheat, soybean, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, and shellfish. So that pretty much covers the gamut of allergies.
All right, so that's our wrap-up of Newport Aquarium. Thanks for joining us.
And next month we'll have someplace really special, maybe a couple places. So join us next month.
It's spring break. Bye.
Bye.